I promise you've never seen anything like this before. Queen Hatshepsut, a name that radiates power, beauty, and intrigue. Today, we journey back over 3 millennia to ancient Egypt to celebrate the captivating legacy of this iconic woman, a ruler who defied conventions and forever secured her place in world history. Stay with me, because you're about to discover why her story is one of a kind. Queen Hatshepsut might not be the first name you think of when you imagine legendary figures from ancient Egypt. But let me tell you, her life story is nothing short of extraordinary. Hatshepsut wasn't just a queen, she was a pharaoh, the official ruler of a land where men typically sat on the throne. Sounds revolutionary, doesn't it? That's because it was. But her rule wasn't about overt rebellion. It was about grace, poise, and clever diplomacy. Let's rewind to around 1479 BCE, to a time when women seldom held power in the ancient world. Born to Pharaoh Thutmose I and Queen Ahmose, Hatshepsut grew up in the heart of Egyptian grandeur. Her family was steeped in wealth, ambition, and the cultural flourishing of the 18th dynasty. As a princess, Hatshepsut was tutored in all the ways of the elite. She learned to read, write, and administer Egypt's complex bureaucracy. But she went far beyond the expectations held for women of her time. She wasn't content lingering in the royal shadows. She aimed to leave her mark. When her father passed and her half-brother Thutmose II ascended the throne, Hatshepsut soon became queen. Yet another twist of fate changed everything. Her husband died relatively young, leaving the crown to Thutmose III, a child far too young to lead. Enter Hatshepsut, first as a regent, then as pharaoh. Yes, you heard that right. Rather than bow to tradition, she declared herself the ruler of Egypt. But how did she manage this? Hatshepsut understood the significance of imagery, narrative, and diplomacy. To solidify her status, she blurred the lines between male and female in a fascinating way. In many of her statues and hieroglyphs, she is depicted as wearing the traditional pharaoh's crown and regalia, standing tall and strong as any male ruler would. Sometimes, she even donned the ceremonial false beard, a symbol of kingship that defied gender conventions. This wasn't a denial of her femininity, but instead a mastery of the optics needed to maintain power in a patriarchal society. Isn't it fascinating to think how her story challenges even today's conversations around gender and leadership? But we're not just here to talk politics. Let's talk about her remarkable beauty, both aesthetic and intellectual. Graceful and statuesque, Hatshepsut epitomized the ideal blend of physical elegance and mental acuity. Egyptian art showcases her adorned with bold jewels, lined eyes evocative of Egyptian fashion, and flowing robes that represented luxury and divine favor. Her physical presence was said to be commanding yet gentle, a paradox that only adds to her allure. It's as though her mysterious aura could hold the attention of an entire nation. One of her most lasting contributions was the construction of breathtaking monuments, most notably her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari. Have you ever seen it? If you haven't, picture this: a temple complex nestled into the cliffs of Thebes, glowing with symmetry, adorned with intricate reliefs and larger-than-life statues. Can you imagine the awe someone must have felt walking through its tall, broad courtyards? Hatshepsut's temple still stands today, portraying her as a divine figure chosen by the gods to guide Egypt. Interestingly, some of these depictions associate her beauty with divine goodness, further tying her legacy to both inner and outer magnificence. Her temple also chronicles an extraordinary voyage, the expedition to Punt. Often described as one of her greatest achievements, this journey wasn't just a political maneuver. It was a reflection of Hatshepsut's vision for Egypt as a cultural and economic hub. Punt, a mysterious land to the south, was rich in treasures: gold, ivory, ebony, and rare incense. By initiating this ambitious expedition, Hatshepsut not only bolstered the economy, but also cemented her status as a visionary leader. The visuals of Egyptians and Puntites exchanging treasures are profoundly striking, further enveloping her story in a tapestry of beauty and diplomacy. And let's not forget, fashion is intrinsic to trade, which brings us full circle to the celebration of her unique elegance. Yet the story doesn't end there. Despite her incredible achievements, her successors eventually attempted to erase her memory from history. Names etched into walls were scratched out, statues were destroyed, and her narrative was buried deliberately to conceal the power she wielded. Isn't it ironic, though? What was meant to erase her only amplified her mystique once future archaeologists uncovered her story. Her beauty and legacy couldn't be extinguished. It persisted against all odds, a powerful metaphor for resilience, wouldn't you agree? But let's zoom out for a moment to appreciate why Queen Hatshepsut's story matters today. Beyond her groundbreaking position in history, she redefined what it means to be a beautiful woman throughout the ages. She wasn't just beautiful by the aesthetic standards of her time. Her beauty was deeply intertwined with her intelligence, vision, and courage. She wasn't afraid to challenge the norm, yet she did it with elegance. Her life encourages all of us to think about how we define beauty, not merely as a superficial trait, but as something powerful and inclusive. Now here's a fascinating takeaway. The deeper we delve into the lives of women like Hatshepsut, the more we're reminded that beauty and strength often go hand in hand. Whether in the contours of a sculpted temple or the subtle gestures of a regal bearing, Hatshepsut's era reminds us that beauty has never been a fixed concept. When you think about her, don't just think about ancient Egypt or hieroglyphs. Think about the legacy of women, far beyond any one era or land, who have changed the world by simply being unapologetically themselves. Have I made you curious to learn more about Queen Hatshepsut? Trust me, this is just the beginning of her story. She stood as a beacon of elegance, intellect, and immense capability during times when women were seldom allowed such space. Her surviving monuments beckon us to never forget the force that she was. She teaches us that beauty is about shining your light so brightly that even thousands of years later, people can't help but notice. So the next time you think of ancient Egypt, remember her unmissable presence. Let's celebrate Queen Hatshepsut and let her inspire us to leave legacies worthy of remembrance. That's all for today, but if you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to stay tuned. This has been another episode of Beautiful Women Throughout the Ages. Until next time, take a moment to reflect on all the beauty and strength around you, past and present. See you soon.